So, tell me how you guys met.
In the boarding house in Atlanta.
She was running from one thing and I was running from something else.
I went up to take a course in Veritype, a new machine in Atlanta. I had to go up there to have them teach me how to do it. But I had to pay my way. Company didn't pay for me. So it was real new. It didn't last long though. And I just went up there to get some lessons on it. And then Mother wouldn't let me stay in a hotel. And I had a real good friend, been friends for years, and she said her aunt had a boarding house. So she got in touch with her aunt and asked if she could put me up for 2 weeks, if I could stay there. So that's what I did. So we went there and stayed there in the boarding house, and this old man was there.
It was the time at the house, there was a little girl that was a niece or daughter, something of the owner of the house.
Oh. His niece or granddaughter?
Yeah, granddaughter.
The woman that owned the house was aunt of my friend.
Yeah,
She wrote her a letter or got in touch with her and asked her if I could stay there.
She was the cutest little thing.
Not the little girl was cute.
That's what I said.
Oh, well, the woman that owned the house was not cute.
No, she wasn't the cutest. It was really a place where people went when they didn't have nowhere else to go. Trying to go to Georgia Tech or somewhere, you know, just a place to exist.
Harry, I can't remember, did they serve meals?
Yeah, they served meals, but not on a regular basis.
They wasn't just evening and morning, probably.
Yeah. It was not an efficiently run operation. They did okay, but it was something. All kind of people, you know, there.
So what did you, hold on just a second. I want to just fix one thing here.
At this time.
Hold on, Dad. Okay, just talk for a second.
At this time, the
okay, all right.
What did you say?
Just talk.
Yeah, no, you're good. No, so tell me, at this time what?
At this time, the government and all were in turmoil. They were in the middle of trying to figure out what to do with the military and the country and everything.
The veterans.
Veterans.
They had come back.
And it was just a few blocks from Georgia Tech, but it was kind of perilous road going through it. And
well, the boarding house was quite a ways from Georgia Tech.
Do you remember what street it was on?
14th Street.
14th Street was where the house was on.
That's where we met.
And Georgia Tech was about 6th Street. They were close.
Well, you walked sometimes, didn't you, when you couldn't afford
I walked all the time to Georgia Tech. But it was quite a walk, you know, more than what I would ever even dream of doing now.
You couldn't afford to ride the, what they call it then? It was buses, but it was...
And it had been a road that they'd started or something kind of quit doing. And it was a dirt road. It wasn't really in operation, but I walked it. So I walked on a dirt road part of the way.
Can you imagine in Atlanta?
You know, it's just like a construction place.
We didn't think you know dirt roads in Atlanta even at that time.
So
I went there. I was working for a company, and they bought a new thing called a Verityper, and they were trying to teach me. And the man that was there teaching me, he just told me about that I could go up to Atlanta and take a thing on it for about 2 weeks.
See, there was just prior to really having television and anything. It was right in the middle of that. In fact, we saw our first television up on Peachtree in a window.
And the window at Rich's.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that was great seeing that.
Everybody was standing around watching it.
Yeah. And
But,
it was just a time in history.
So, where you met in the boarding house, was it?
Met at the boarding house, and the first weekend he asked me for a date, and we went out and visited and stuff like that. And then when I went home...
Did you like him when you first met him?
Mm-hmm. Another guy in the boarding house too asked me for a date, and he took me out, but I didn't like him.
Who?
That one, he took me out before you did. You didn't have any money. You had to call your family and have them to send you some money so you could take me out. He called him and told me he met a real nice girl, and he
got $1.50.
wanted to take me out, but he didn't have the money. So they sent him money, and he took me out.
And where'd you go?
I don't remember where we went. Some little restaurant there, was it? Do you remember? Then we went to...
Seemed like we went up to by the movie house.
Yeah. But then that weekend, we also went to the park where they had Ian and Andrea's wedding. You weren't far from there, remember? The boarding house we lived, the rooming house.
Mm-hmm.
So, after your first date, then what?
He asked me out took me out to dinner. I think he had to call his mama to send him some money. Is that what you did?
Yeah, you know, generally life was just sitting around in the boarding house on the porch or in one of the rooms or something, or whatever else you could
Wasn't
carry
any TV.
And everybody was pretty friendly, but
they'd, you know, you'd talk and visit.
They had their own crowds and stuff.
So he called his mom to get some money to take me out.
And then after the first date, then what?
I went home.
What about the second date?
We went out a couple of times, but I don't remember where we went. Wasn't very. We walked in the park. I know. Went to the. What was the name of the park?
Piedmont.
In Piedmont Park, we spent some time there, and just we didn't go out a whole lot. He didn't have money. He was.
Nobody had money.
Nobody had money, and then we. I went home, and. I think I called Mother and said I'd like to stay up there and get a job because I'd met somebody. And she told me to come right home. We'd talk about it when I got home. So I went home, and then he came down and when he was between quarters and visited me and went back. We were engaged. We wrote letters and everything all the time.
Love letters?
Yeah, love letters.
We got whole books of them over here.
Yeah, I got the book of all the love letters. You didn't know that?
Oh, you want to look at it?
No, not right now. You might want to.
We don't want no laughing in here while we.
So that was.
And there's some poetry in there, isn't there?
There probably is one.
Yeah,
or two.
probably.
He wrote it.
But we did good. There were some friends we had there that we enjoyed, you know, we didn't keep up with. Everybody, you know, it was just a thing like around a college town coming and going, you know. And,
So he came down and visited me, and we was between quarters and proposed. And then I went up there. The lady that run the boarding house was her niece was a very good friend of mine. And the second time I went up there, Ollie Bell went with me. She was a friend, and she went up there with me when we went the second time. And but he'd already, you know, he came down to visit, and he proposed while he was down there.
How did you propose?
I don't know. I don't remember. So, I don't know. I can't remember how it was.
I don't remember that.
It was just.
We just said, well,
He said something about it, and then
we could get married. And she said, okay.
No, it wasn't that way.
Okay.
You made some kind of statement, and I didn't answer it. And he says, I think you said, well, I'm asking you to marry me. Something like that. I didn't understand the first one. So I said, yes. That was all the way it was.
What was your wedding like?
It was just, it was at 10 o'clock in the morning at the Catholic Church, and it was just a regular wedding. I didn't wear a long gown, but you've seen my wedding pictures, where we are in. And, you know, we had to marry in the morning then.
Why?
Because they wouldn't give communion after lunch. They couldn't. Now that's reversed, and they do it any time.
Was it a mass?
A mass. Mm-hmm.
In Latin?
Yep. Latin that time.
So you knew what they were asking when they asked if you were to take this man?
Oh, they don't say that in Latin. The prayers were in Latin. You know how Latin was. No, they didn't say that. There was just.
No, anyway.
Oh, you're good.
It just, you know, he said, do you take Harry to be your husband? And he said, do you take Jacqueline to be your wife? You know, the traditional way to do it. Mm-hmm. And then we were married and walked down the aisle and went out to the house, and we had a wedding cake and stuff, and then we left for a wedding trip. Now, your grandparents, his parents, and Catherine and Foy. In fact, Catherine and Foy had married just before we did, and I went up to their wedding, so I could meet his family. And then I think they married in July.
You know,
I think it was July.
From Columbus and down there, everything we go to Columbus for, you know. And we didn't even realize as much as it was, but everybody on down there in Alabama and Lower Georgia went to Columbus. And particularly the ones from Alabama go so they could get out of Alabama. You know, different rules being made, and you're avoiding rules by moving somewhere else and all kinds of stuff. But we made do, you know, that's all we did was make do. We had a lot of fun.
What did you do for a living when you first got married?
He was in school.
Oh, God.
And I was working. He had his benefits from the VA, and I was working. I got a job up there to help support us, and then we married in September, and you finished school about March.
I think so.
In March, and then you got a job. Where did we get the job at? Greenville. Was that Greenville, South Carolina?
Huh?
Was it Greenville?
Greenville, South Carolina.
Yeah, and the guy you went to school with, he and his wife went there too. He graduated, didn't he? And then they moved to Greenville and worked the same place you did.
Who?
What's his name?
Gordon Riddick?
Gordon Riddick and Edith.
Yeah. But
and we all went to Greenville, and
it wasn't a real organized outfit, I tell you, Bill. It was just like a bunch of young kids, running around trying to, and veterans from the war, all these people were being let loose from the military, and jobs were, was just really a shaky time.
Wasn't many jobs.
What did you do for work when you?
I worked with I can't remember what the name. I can't remember what that place was. Typing. I was typing orders. Sears. I worked at Sears.
Yeah.
It's this big Sears store.
It was right on Ponce de Leon Avenue.
Not far from where we lived.
And a big brick building at that time,
Had the store underneath, and then there's great big offices that took mail orders. That's where all the mail orders went in there.
Yeah.
When you're ordering something through the catalog or anything. And so I got a job in that, and what we would do would when the orders come in, we'd have to type them in on a special form, the information, and then it was sent to the shipping department, and that was shipped out with them, what they ordered. And we had to. I think it went from hours what they ordered, and then they went to the accounting department, I believe, where they made up how much it was costing them and all that stuff. We just had to print the names and what they were ordering, the numbers and all that. And then it went to that, and then it went to the shipping department.
And what were you going to school for?
Textiles.
Yeah, I decided to go to textile because I could kind of understand that a little more. I came from a textile type town, although I didn't know that much. But anyway, I went there for textile, and later on went to other things. It's just a crazy mixed up thing.
Well, he's changed jobs several times, haven't you? A number of times.
Yeah, changed jobs a few times.
He didn't work in textiles very long. I don't remember how long. Had a good friend, Riddock. What was his name? Gordon Riddock?
Riddock,
And what was his wife's name? Of course, we went to Greenville together after you graduated from college.
I would have had it then, but you kept talking. And
Gordon Riddock.
Gloria?
No, it wasn't Gloria. I can't. Edith.
Edith Riddock.
And they had a little girl.
Yeah.
About a couple of years old. But he was in school with Gordon.
Is that where Steve was born?
Steve was born in Greenville, South Carolina. That's where we went to Greenville. In fact, the day we moved in to the apartment, that night, I went into labor. He came real early, about 3 weeks early. And I went into labor, and he called a cab and came and picked us up for the boarding house because we didn't have transportation, and took us to the hospital. When I went up there, I had a doctor went and found a doctor right away, and so I could, but I didn't realize the baby was going to come that soon. He was about 3 weeks early.
Why'd you name him Steve?
I don't know. Why did we name him Steve? What's his middle name? You know Steve's middle name?
Stephen.
Oh.
Huh?
I don't know. Steve.
I did know.
It's out of our memory. You look at the
That's a long time ago.
Steve was his middle name.
Daniel Stephen.
Daniel Stephen, yeah.
And we started calling him Danny, and then we like Steve, sound more masculine. So we just called him Steve. And it just fitted him.
Why?
Why? Why did it fit him? Well, he just looked like a Steve to me. I don't know what Steve.
Like a what?
He says, why did it fit him? I said, I don't know. He looked like a Steve to me. Oh gosh, this is crazy. Now what else?
So, what was he like as a kid?
Oh, he was the smartest kid there. All the teachers one of the teachers punished him because he would correct her in class when she made a statement. And then she didn't ever tell him this, but after he died and I was talking to her, she said that I don't know, what was it, was that she had punished him, you know, it's just because he was correcting her on a paper, what she put on the answer, and he thought it wasn't right, and she punished him, and she went and looked it up, and he was right. So she had to go back and tell the kids, changed it over, but she didn't say anything to Steve about it. I said, did you tell him? And she said, no. But he knew when she changed the
He was real smart, intelligent, but he was going to run this thing his way, you know.
No, the teachers, most all the teachers, he excelled in everything. And a number of them told us this, I've never taught a child like that. The way he thinks and the way he reads, and he was reading encyclopedias, and he was reading things way ahead of his thing. And several of the teachers says, I've never had a child that has that knowledge. Because he says
he amazed everybody.
That the teachers were, they were just, you know, but then I think he had that knowledge, but yet he didn't think before he did things, like riding a bicycle in front of a car. Didn't look. But a lot of kids do that. But you know, he should have known, don't look. I mean, look for the car before you cross the street on a bicycle. And he didn't know it. And that night, his parents came over to the house. Oh, they were so distraught. And we told him, I said, I think they were afraid we were going to sue somebody. We had a couple of lawyers contact us to file a suit for him.
So this was a man?
No, it was their son. He had just started driving. But the people that were there said Steve rode his bicycle in front of the car. There was a woman, no, she had just got her driver's license to where she could drive alone. And But
You know how young kids
but
like
there were
that
people
driving.
there were
no,
people
really,
there that saw it,
not
and they said
really.
he didn't look either way. He just rode that bicycle right across, and whatever. And that was the way he was. He was so knowledgeable in some things, but some things he didn't know how to, to do the correct thing. He thought he'd just do anything he wanted to and nothing's going to hurt him. And that's how it happened.
So if you could, here we are 40-something years later, almost 50 years later, and if this woman's still alive, if you saw her today, what would you say to her?
We talked to her.
You did?
Mm-hmm. And we told her, said,
Oh, she came.
they came to the house.
Feeling bad about it.
That afterwards, and they didn't come in because there's so many people in the house. So we went out and talked to them outside. She and her husband, and she was just crying. She was broken. And we told her. So many people saw it. They saw he did it, and we told her since we didn't blame her. It wasn't her fault. We realized our son just wasn't thinking, and he just did the wrong thing. Didn't check anything, and we didn't blame her anywhere. But we had several lawyers called us, wanted to bring suit for her. I told them go to hell. One of them. I mean, literally, that's what when he said that, and I said, "You go to hell," and hung up. They said, "What?" Because it was not her fault. And I wasn't bound to bring suit against anybody. I couldn't live with it. We were having a harder time living with them dying that have to go through that too. And I wasn't going to do it.
So what was that day like?
It's been a beautiful day.
What day?
He came home from I think Donna was out riding the bicycle, had her turn at the bicycle, and he came home. Donna rode up, and Steve took the bicycle, and he came in the house, and Steve went down the street. He went up a couple of blocks where he wasn't supposed to be going, and crossed the road in front of a oncoming car.
That's done all the time. It's just
But
things that happen.
12-year-olds, they don't think before they look. They don't look before they cross. Things like that a lot of times.
Well, we do things we shouldn't do too.
But so the family came over, the father and mother of the girl, and there's so many people out there from the center, or from FAA Center, from Griffin, from Atlanta. They were at the house, a lot of those, and so we just went outside and talked to them, and we told her, we said, we don't blame you. We're sorry it happened, and that he did this, but it was his fault. And he's making us suffer, but he's also making you suffer. So I said, we just forgive you. It just was an accident that he created. And it was. That's all it was.
So how'd you get the news?
That's the thing. When you had just come home, hadn't you?
Yeah, I think so.
And somebody rode. Somebody the next door. They said a little boy was hit by a bicycle at such an intersection, which was about 2 blocks from us. And Harry said, "Oh my God!" And Steve wasn't there, and you just jumped in the car and rode down there to see, and it was Steve. When he wasn't around.
Quite a day.
What was it like when you got to the scene for you? When you got to the scene, what was that like?
At the accident, they hadn't taken him away when you got there.
Just said, it's been an accident. Just You know, they moved everything away. It wasn't any.
Was he? They had already taken his body away, hadn't they?
Yeah, they'd taken it.
But he went down there, and the
So
police.
then I went to
police
try
were
to
still
see
there.
it now.
Then
It was
they
a confusing day.
then they took him.
Did you know it was him when you got to the scene?
Saw the bicycle.
I thought it was,
He saw the bicycle.
and then saw the bicycle.
That's why he went
Still
down
a
there.
big shock when I saw him. You know.
We didn't know who it was, but we knew he went that way, and he went to see. Saw the bicycle, knew it was, but they'd already moved him, and so we came back, and then I think he took you to somewhere where you could view the body.
Huh?
Didn't they take you somewhere? You
Yeah.
you didn't do the scene, did you? No, they'd already moved him,
Yeah.
and they took him to where he could really identify him.
Crazy thing.
Police took him, and then they brought him back home.
And so you had to come home and tell everybody?
Yep. Well, we pretty much knew it because the kid,
Boy, it was a shocking day.
the boy that came in, was with the family next door, and he'd seen it or heard of it, and said that he'd been killed. And we knew then that if it was Steve, he was gone.